welcome back. We are filming in my corner of my office, so I need to probably make it prettier, but I've got my board of mess over here. But what this is it's like notes from people and cards that have said how much my work has meant to them, and a reminder that I actually did get into Barnes Noble like I wanted to for all those years, because sometimes I forget what I'd already accomplished. My husband yells at me. So this is my word of you're okay. You're okay. That's what that is. That's my word of you are okay. You're okay. And this little guy in the back here, my little friend, he's actually inspiration for a new secret project that I'm working on. So he's gonna just kind of hang out back there for a while. If he moves or does anything creepy, like shout, let me know. So I hope I'm really clear and concise in this video, because one, I think it's a really important topic, and two, I already recorded like 25 minutes of information that I went back and watched ready to edit, and realized that the camera angle was not optimal and I looked a bit like a troll and it wasn't very pretty. So here we are. So you get to receive this information from a non-troll-like human. Today I want to talk about the mindset of an artist versus a mindset of a professional. Both are super important. I think people kind of think, oh, I have to be one or the other. And anyone who is an artist at heart picks the artist, by the way, because that's what makes us unique, right? There are tons of professionals, but it's the artist in us that looks at the world just a little bit differently and can see things that maybe someone else doesn't see. And that's the part of us that we want to get out, whether it's in our books or our writing or our music or anything that we're looking for. We want to get that artist out. And when we first start in art, I think it's really important to grab onto that artist. I think it's integral that we let ourselves be free in that manner, that we write whatever we want to write, that we paint what we want to paint, that we create the music we want to listen to. But the problem comes in when we're ready to move beyond that. When we stop creating just for us and our close family members, and we start stepping out and creating for other people. Because what does that mean? When we start creating for other people, we're looking to monetize our art. And at this point, a couple of things change. And it's really important to hold on to your artist, all right? Because your artist is you. That's what makes your stories or your pictures different than Sally Joe Bob's. That's why we want to buy your thing rather than someone else's thing. So holding on to that artist and that vision that is yours is so important. However, as artists, we really have to learn two different mindsets, and we have to kind of be able to flip back and forth between them. So when I am writing a story, a brand new story, I'm 100% artist, okay? I let my mind go. And I'm 100% artist, even to the fact that although I've been asked to plot a bajillion different times, it's just not how my mind works. I can't function as much of a creative being when I do that. So I do mental plotting, don't get me wrong, but the like A, B, C, D, E, F, like flow chart thing, it does not work for me. And believe me, I have tried. I have so tried. And so my artist self says, you know what, that doesn't work for me. Like, in order to create something like this, in order to create this large of a world with this many species and the relationships, and to put the depth in that I need to be free at the beginning. After I do that, right, I start editing, and I start to kind of flip at that point a little more professional, but I'm still pretty artistry. Like, I'm like, what do I want here? Like, what moves me? I'm not thinking a whole bunch about the audience. I'm not thinking about the publisher. I'm really thinking about, what do I want? Like, how do I make this perfect for me? How do I make this as impeccable as possible so me, the artist, is happy with this product? And that is also huge. Perfecting you is so, so important. But in the writing world, once we're through with that process, what do we have to do? Because we're trying to monetize it, right? So we want to get someone to purchase that item. And there are a couple different avenues you can go about this, but let's talk first about getting that book to an editor. Because in order to get it as good as you can, a lot of times you need an editor. You need some help. You really do. It's not something that you get to skip. I talked to a lot of writers who were like, oh, well, I mean, the publishing house will give me an editor. I mean, yeah, they will, but that doesn't mean that they're going to look at this project that clearly needs desperate help and think, oh, it's fine, I can get him an editor. No, that's not what they do. They want something that's beautiful and amazing, and then heck yeah, they're still going to stick you with an editor to make it better. So you get an editor, and they go through it, and here's what your editor's going to do. They're going to destroy it. That is what they do. Okay, they're going to destroy it. I don't think you will ever get to a point as a writer where those type of things stop happening. Now, is it better for me than it used to be? Yes. All right, like book 1 edits, oh my gosh. I would have to expand almost every page, the comment section, in order to see all of the things that she was telling me was wrong just in that page. All right, and now on book 7, I don't have to expand a page very often. Most of the time, the comments and the problems will actually fit on a page. And sometimes I'll even go pages without comments. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm figuring this crap out. It's taking me, but I'm getting it. So I think that there will always be problems. It will be less and less and less. But an editor's job is to take that thing apart and find any and every problem with that so that you can make it better. But here's what I'm noticing. People who stay in the artist mindset are very protective of their art, okay? And that makes them very defensive. So it's well, how dare they say that? And I can't believe it. Can you believe they would suggest me to do this thing? And I can't even believe they said that. And I'm sitting over here as someone who's been through professional editors with all of my work and going, yeah, I can believe they said that. Like, that's not super weird. But that defensiveness of the artist makes it very, very, very difficult, if not impossible, to actually listen to your editor. So what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to let go of that artist mindset, and you have to emotionally disconnect yourself from this project, okay? You got to cut those strings, cut that umbilical cord, and now this project is not you. This book is not me. Does it have pieces of me in it? Of course I wrote it. Like, of course it does. This book is told through a filter that is a filter that I look at the world through. So of course that is going to come into play, but this is not me. If this ceased to exist, I would not cease to exist, all right? So disconnect. This is not you. This is something that you made. Now, as a professional, you need an editor to be able to come in and say, hey, here's the problems that I see. And your job is to say, okay, let me figure out how to fix that. And here's the thing. I see so many people that are so resistant to this help and so resistant to this professional mindset and letting go of that artist place. When you refuse to put your professional hat on, what you're doing is you're shooting yourself in the foot. That's the expression my father would always use. You are weakening your own material by refusing help. If someone says to you, you know, I don't understand like why this thing is happening, or I feel really lost and I don't feel like this was very clear. Your initial reaction as the artist is like, what are you talking about? Of course it's clear. Like it's clear as a bell. Well, of course it's clear to you, guys. You did it. Like if I write a battle scene, I can see everything that's happening. But if my editor says she's completely lost, that means that I did not do a good job at getting my vision onto the paper. As an artist, I want my vision on the paper, right? Like that's why I'm writing something. So if I have failed in that manner, why would I argue and say like, no, of course it's clear. Like it's totally obvious what's going on here. Because they are out of your head. And because they have an outsider's point of view on your art, that makes their opinion more valid in this scenario. All right? Because you get it, you see it, they don't. So if you couldn't make them see it, there is something wrong and you need to perk up and you need to listen and you need to be open to changing those things. There have been so many times where I felt that defensiveness, where like I'll read a comment, I'm like, oh, come on, like, are you kidding me? And it's usually something they want me to delete entirely, because of course it's always something that I love, right? It's those passages that you're like, oh, this is beautiful. And your editor's like, this has got to go. So there have been times where I like very grudgingly, like I'll kind of go in, even with like, I've been doing this a while, like even with, I think my professional hat on my head, I go and I'm like, okay, turn on track changes because I'm probably going to need this back, right? And I'll delete it out and I'll read it without that section. And I'm like, suck. Like, she's right. Like, this is so much better like this. Or they'll ask for a change. And I'm like, well, this is just ridiculous. Like, I don't always do this, but occasionally I have moments of weakness where I turn into a pouting 4-year-old. Okay, it happens. But I do it to myself in my office like a professional and not in front of other people. So I will get a little begrudging and I'm like, okay, fine. And then I'll read back over it. And again, I'm like, she's right. Again, like, why is she always right? It's very annoying, but also very, very helpful. So don't disregard this, okay? This is what a non-professional does. The non-professional lets your ego get in the way, lets your hurt feelings get in the way, and lets your artist get in the way, and prevents you from making this book what it could have been had you stopped and listened to your editor, all right? Had you put that professional hat on and disconnected yourself from that project. Sometimes editors ask things that are really hard. And sometimes editors ask things that I don't agree with how they want it done. And here's the biggest problem that I see with that artist's mindset. And this is probably a human mindset as well. But like, okay, let's say Venators is a young adult fantasy. Their 2 characters are from our world, so it has kind of an urban feel, but they cross over to an alternate plane of existence, which is 100% fantasy, okay? It's kind of a medieval feel, like there's no technology, there's no electricity, like that stuff isn't there. So if my editor puts a comment on the side of Editors and is like, you know, what would be great? I really think that if we had like this steam machine that like we could be laying tracks for that, or maybe a spaceship, we could like add, you know, other beings. What? Like, I would read a comment like, and I've gotten a couple weird comments in some of my past books where I'm like, did you read the book? Like, how, what? And this is where a lot of people shut down. They're like, well, that's just ridiculous. Like that, and it is ridiculous. Okay, it's a ridiculous comment if you honestly suggested to add aliens to my young adult fantasy novel. However, a professional doesn't get hot-headed and throw their arms up and walk away. A professional goes, why would they have suggested that I add aliens? Well, really the only conclusion that I can come to here is that they're bored out of their noggin and they're really looking for some excitement here. So I need to fix this in my way. I'm not adding aliens, that's insane. But I need to go and I need to fix the pacing. I maybe need to add a scene to bump up the excitement. I maybe need to get some bantering on in my dialogue. Like, I need to fix the problem here. And then the professional fixes the problem, sends it back to the editor and says, hey, does this, like, so I didn't love the alien idea, but I'm hoping that this might fix your problem. And I'll tell you, every time that I've done this, or I've called and said, hey, this is not my favorite thing. What if we did this instead? Every time they're like, oh, yep, totally. That absolutely fixes my problem. That is a professional mindset instead of an emotional artist mindset. Be a professional, be open to ideas, disconnect yourself from your project and listen. The other thing that you need to be aware of, particularly if you're trying to get an agent as an author, agents are also aware of this like artist professional thing. And what they're looking for is someone who can be a professional. When Venators was published beforehand, and then I met Tom Raleigh of Brown Books, who is now CEO and president of Brown Books. Congratulations, Tom. But I met him at a conference, and he was interested in Venators, and we were in talks of them picking it up. And he called, and he said, you know, we've had this read by our professional reviewer. She has a master's. She has a master's in literature review, which, by the way, can someone please explain to me how I missed the fact that I could actually get a master's in reading books? How's that a thing? That's a thing. Anyway, they'd had the book read by their master of literature review, which, by the way, I'm glad he told me after and not before, because I about had a nervous breakdown. I was like, what? You what? But I flipped out. But he, you know, he's like, she enjoyed it. She liked it. Here are some comments that she had. We'd actually like you to add 5,000 words to this book, give or take. Okay, I can do that. Now, that's actually much harder than it sounds because Venators was a completed book. The pacing was in, the plot arc was in. So to add 5,000 words into there without jacking any of that up is a little harder than it sounds. But I was like, no problem. Like, I can do this. And, you know, they were like, well, this character, they felt this about, we'd like this type of idea maybe threaded through a little more. Yeah, I can do that. I think there's several different ways, like I can think of right now that I could work with that. That's not a problem. And he did that with several different things. And after he was done with the questions, he said, well, okay, we do need you to work on all of those things, but really the reason that I was asking you, I just needed to make sure that you weren't a diva. And I was like, oh, like, great. Glad I passed the test there that I didn't know I was having. But that happens a lot. Like, people are talking to you as an author and you don't realize that they're evaluating your capacity to set aside your artistry and your artist and be a professional. That's what they're looking for. They want to see if you can disconnect from this project enough to make it something that they can work with. They want to see if you're easy enough to work with that they can work with you. That's what they're looking for. They are looking for a professional who happens to be a brilliant artist. A really good book to read would be The War of Art, and I always want to say The Art of War because that's obviously a classic novel, but it's The War of Art, and it's about the mental struggles and the mindset needed to be an artist in this world today, and how to kind of disconnect from that, how to realize that you are not your project, and how to fight resistance, which is a very real thing. And so that would be a fantastic book for you guys to pick up and read. It's really short, it's a really fast read, but I've underlined like 3/4 of the book. So pick that up, drop some questions and comments if you want. Let me know if you liked this video, if you like kind of more of the business side of this. I have some more planned, or if you have some requests of something you would just really like me to talk about, drop that below. This topic I'm actually going to be turning into an hour-long class for Boise Book Fest, so it'll be a lot more specific, divided into categories, and not off the cuff. So if you're going to be in the Boise area for Boise Book Fest, like, please get a ticket, come to the class. I think it's going to be amazing. I hope it's going to be amazing. No, I've got this. We're going to be fine. There's the artist right there, coming out to play. So, all right. Well, I will see you guys later. Thanks so much for hanging on. Like, I hope you guys got something out of this, and I will talk to you all soon. If you haven't signed up for the giveaway yet, please go sign up for that. You don't want to miss out. It's just free stuff. And as a quick pro-quo, book 2 in Venators, which is Promises Forged, will be coming out. I have a date, April 30th. Woohoo! So get caught up on book 1 before it's too late. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye.